Welcome, everybody, to www.witchcrafttv.online. We are fair representation for all pagan, witch, and magic paths. And today launches the brand new Reverend Alexander Cabot educational show right here on the platform. Rev, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Harold. It's thank you for having me, and this is such a great opportunity to bring forth uh knowledge, education, but also humanity, love. This is what paganism is all about. Humanity, first of all, witchcraft, the practice, the tradition. And it's something that I have been part of my entire existence. So I'm glad that I'm here with you all, and this is something that I could share the whole travels, the pilgrimage of not only England with my hand fasting, but then, of course, the reception and then onto the honeymoon, which became such a beautiful spiritual experience in the standing stones, the Neolithic structures throughout Britain and throughout the UK, and of course, Scotland. Um, a long time ago, I'm Cuban American. I'm an immigrant in this country of the United States of America. I'm proud to be an American. Um, I am just overwhelmed to know that I bring I'm part of that fabric of America that makes it so great. Because without immigrants in this country, we're it's nothing. This is the existence of the United States of America. And unfortunately, this administration that we have seems to not have the views that are important when it comes to, and especially um one in particular, which is Marco Rubio, and he is of Cuban descent. Uh, anyway, besides that, what's important is that I wanted to bring forth the pilgrimage of my beautiful hand fasting at Stonehenge. This it's unbelievable. I had one of the Cabot brothers, one of the high priests from the order. He was filming it live for Witchcraft TV,
Yeah.
and I remember when it was just short notice when I actually started talking to you about the possibilities of having that exposure for Witchcraft TV. I'm really grateful that you are creating this platform and bringing community close. This is what's important. This is why That's the reason why I'm here. It's about the communal energies, the love, and humanity itself. So when I first started out with the travels of Stonehenge, I was in Ireland with my dear friend Susan Marie Paramore, and she was the one who proposed to us first and foremost. She we I looked at my partner, and I was like kind of bewildered, but at the same time, and with excitement that she wanted to hand fast us at Stonehenge. And I said to myself, I looked at him, and he's not very much in knowledge with Stonehenge or the Neolithic structures of the UK. So he was kind of like perplexed, and I said to him, let's actually do this. This is wonderful. It's going to be epic for us to have a hand fasting and solidify our commitment on sacred grounds such as Stonehenge. And little did I know that with all the preparations, uh, having Arthur Pendragon as well, an old friend, great arch druid of Stonehenge. He's a remarkable pioneer, not only in Druidism, but also in paganism, the umbrella term that we use as neo-pagans. So I was really astonished how supportive them too, Arthur and Susan were so supportive with the hand fasting. So we created an amazing hand fasting at the spring equinox in Stonehenge, heading towards the heel stone, which is always, the marker away from the ritual inner court of Stonehenge. And so I was blessed to have brethren support of the United States, of Canada, and also South America. And it was just amazing to have everyone together in this beautiful commitment and love of a couple that I've met him 2 years ago. I've been with him, and ever since, we've been such a great force, compatible. We actually complement each other rather than complicate each other. And so this relationship grew to the point that I understood I've already found a twin flame in my life rather than a soulmate, the differences of soulmate and twin flames. And so I was so humbled to know that my life is going into this chapter of commitment and sharing. Little did I know I was going to share it with the entire community itself, but it did. And behold, Stonehenge happened where we were hand fasted by the archdruid and the high priestess of Stonehenge. And so that gave way to a beautiful reception in Salisbury at this manor house, Burkham Manor House. And it was just a few intimate involvement of dear friends. And from then on, I was trying to recover from a really bad cold that it was in my system, and I was trying to get myself stable enough so I could venture out into Scotland, where we were supposed to do our honeymoon. And yes, we did, and that has transcended into 3 weeks of a beautiful trip, a memorable trip that I now have in my heart and memory banks.
Why'd you pick Scotland?
Scotland, believe it or not, I am Cuban American. So whoever has know about my background know that I'm Hispanic. I am born in Havana, Cuba. I came to the United States when I was 16 months old. I grew up in the United States. I have made my whole entire life. It's being an American. I never knew until I had a DNA test, and I knew of certain the Iberian, Portuguese. I knew about the French because I do have the French background. Never did I know that I had 3% Scottish in me. So that Scotland has always been an amazing magnet for me. And I never knew why until I had that DNA done.
Really cool. I'm a quarter Scotch myself. Wow. So you were talking about some rock formations in that matter of in Scotland. Can you talk about what you experienced there and why it was significant?
Oh, absolutely. I love history. And one of the things that catapulted me to have this beautiful journey, this pilgrimage, which became not only the honeymoon, but the spiritual pilgrimage into Scotland. We went into the battlefield of Culloden, and right next to when we had to take a break in Hamilton, which is next to Glasgow, and we were able to then the next morning head towards Inverness, and we experienced the battlefield of Culloden, and then right next to it was Clara Carnes, which is an old Neolithic burial grounds. That was amazing. It's off the beaten path. A lot of people don't know about that. Clara Carnes, and that was right next to the battlefield of Culloden. That was a great opportunity to see history, to reflect on ancestral energy. Uh, I was enlightened with it all, and then taking our journey further into taking a ferry from the west coast of Scotland into the Isle of Harris, where the Harris Tweed comes from.
Mhm.
That was an amazing opportunity to see um, the product of the tweed, the wool itself come alive in so many tartans. And I've always been enamored with the Harris Tweed, and to be there at the Isle of Harris and to be at the shop and several shops that they had of the Harris Tweed. So that was magnificent to see. And then our journey. Oh, but wait a minute. I have to backtrack. I have to backtrack about that. So our journey, yes, we went into Hamilton, we went into the Battle of Culloden, and of course the Clara Carnes, but then we ended up going into the Highlands to a very exclusive area of the Highlands called Applecross. And that was just amazing. That was 3 days there to visit a dear friend, which is Susan Paramore's son, Aaron Paramore. And he lives there in Applecross. And I was able to experience just the Highlands in a very historical exclusive section called the Applecross, where there is some dynamics of Christianity historically, but also the beauty of paganism within that sector of Applecross. There was definitely ancestral worship. There was such rich history of Applecross, and just being with Aaron, who is a prolific expert on Aleister Crowley, I was just wonderful to be with him and his hospitality, and to share, to see his contribution come alive, because I've always, through Susan, I was never able to meet him in person, only virtually. And this was a great opportunity to be with him physically and just share what we created, his contribution to my book
Mhm.
of Aleister Crowley.
And is that a new book that's coming out, that's available?
Yes, I have the book is now in its reincarnation, becoming a beautiful revised version, second edition, called Memoirs of a High Priest. It's
Mhm.
being published by Schiffer Publishing, and it's available actually for pre-orders, and it's on my website called alexandercabot.com. So whoever is interested could go to alexandercabot.com and could see that there is the link to the pre-order of Memoirs of a High Priest. This is I'm really fortunate to have such a wonderful publisher in Pennsylvania. Uh, it's Schiffer Publishing. Its imprint is called Red Feather, where they hold their genre of esoteric metaphysics, and of course they want to create this book into the new aeon of occult books, and I'm very flattered that they want to do that with my life story. So this is available on my website, alexandercabot.com. So going back to being with Aaron Paramore in Applecross, that gave way for me to explore such a wonderful and mystical area of the Highlands of Scotland, and then venturing off into what was the Isle of Harris and the Isle of Lewis. So taking a ferry. So we were able to take a ferry from the west coast of Scotland into the Isle of Harris, and then traveling all the way through the Isle of Lewis, where we stayed in Stornoway. Stornoway, wonderful. I recommend anyone who's interested in Scotland and its magic. Stornoway is wonderful, because then from Stornoway you could settle down there in order to go to Calanesh. So whoever is interested in the series The Outlander,
Right.
these stones, this Neolithic structure, which is the standing stones of Calanesh, were the inspiration to the series The Outlander.
What is a Neolithic structure? Is a Neolithic structure like Stonehenge and also
Correct.
the
So
formations?
Neolithic being through the period, the Stone period,
Okay.
the period of prehistoric period of humanity that we know of. And so this is just relics of very holy, very sacred grounds of the henge itself, and then of course the standing stones. So whoever has an inspiration for history and for spirituality, this was an amazing pilgrimage that I took to go to Calanesh, and Calanesh was remarkable. I would love to go back, and one day I will. It's in the Isle of Lewis, and people could stay at Stornoway, which is a section in the Isle of Lewis, where you then could travel to Callanish. But when it comes to Scottish weather, it's unpredictable. It could be just cold and rainy to then sunny. Then it clears up. It could be sunny and then rain again. So we were at Callanish and we were experiencing ferocious winds that was taking us everywhere. So I think I posted that on my social media, and it was unbelievable experience. But I was able to experience the peace, the energy of peace, and the ancestral light coming from those stones. That's something that will be with me forever. So that's in the Isle of Lewis, and right in in the section where we were actually lodging, it was Stonaway. So that was something that I was very unbelievably a great experience to go through these islands of Scotland. And then we took a ferry back to the mainland from, well, in I forgot. Yes. In right there in the Isle of Lewis, we not only experienced Callanish, but we experienced the Broch, and we also experienced Black House and the White House, which it were authentic dwellings of Scottish families that were fishing families at that period of time until 1965, and they still stand today. They're called black houses because of the peat, and the interior of the house is all black, and it smells like peat.
What is peat?
Peat is fossilized bedding of the sea floor of the it's I'm not an expert, but I was able to experience it. Some of the whiskeys are actually smoked in with peat.
Okay.
And that's when it's an acquired taste. It has that peaty flavor. But peat is fossilized bedding of earth that it actually burns. It's used to heat homes at that time, in that period of time. So it was interesting to be at this particular black house. I think it's called Alton Black House. So it was great to see history and going into history itself with the Black House. And then across the street was called the White House, 1940s, sort of like dwelling for a Scottish fishing family.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great to see the chronological history go forward in with these certain museums that are kept.
Reverend Cabot, in history, with the takeover with the Abrahamic religions and the shifting that happened, is it true? I think that wasn't Ireland one of the last countries to kind of give up their religious or spirituality as far as like paganism goes, and witchcraft and that kind of thing. Weren't they the last to like?
I don't know that. I don't know. I can't per se. I would have to research that, but I would say that Britain, yes, did give to the world witchcraft.
Yes.
Wicca per se. So that is something that we have today, as the coined phrase of Oberon Zell, neo-pagans.
Mhm.
So we could say that this is a movement going back to what, the 50s with Wicca itself.
Is the overall temperament and vibe different in the United Kingdom, in Britain, and in Ireland than it is in the United States when you're amongst the pagan community? Is it different?
It's not. It's the same, but in England they're more laid back. They're not as uptight with pedigree as the Americans are. The Americans are more uptight with its lineage and pedigree than, I would say, the British. The British are more welcoming. They don't care. They don't care about what background or what tradition you're from, as long as you are part of the female divinity revolution. That's what's important.
Right. The revival. The revival is strong. The revival is
So
strong.
yes. So we from the Isle of Lewis with Calanesh, and I recommend that everybody try to visit Calanesh. That was just unbelievably, with the elements and the standing stones of Calanesh. It was remarkable, I would say. That's it's in my heart, and that's something that you have to experience it yourself.
With your new book, Grimoires of a High Priest, that's available at alexandercabot.com in pre-release. You said that there was a chapter about Aleister Crowley in there. Is that right?
My first book, yes. When I first started, I wanted to commemorate my whole building blocks of the occult itself, and Aleister Crowley has always been part of that when it came to female divinity itself. That's something that I understood as a very young boy. He's controversial. There is negative aspects of him, but still the contributions of female divinity, of the occult, of higher consciousness, my hat goes off to him. He's an amazing practitioner that I understood and related to at a very young age, at a tender age. So that chapter of my book is something that I honor and reflect. So I open up the chapter, not only me personally about Aleister Crowley, but then Aaron Paramore has exclusive works of his own biography. And Aaron Paramore has had a long history as being an expert on Aleister Crowley. He's done various documentaries of Aleister Crowley, called Masters of Darkness. I believe it's called Darkness of Masters. You could even still get them on YouTube.
Oh,
So he's an amazing man who contributed to Aleister Crowley's history and works. The positive, yes, the man went towards the dark, and he's controversial. He's the beast and 666, and okay, fine. but still there's a lot of positive within his own thelemic philosophy.
Hmm.
He has a lot to give, and he did throughout the 20th century. One of the most prolific occultists that we've had, through history. And yes, my book consists of one chapter pertaining to Aleister Crowley.
Is it safe to say that the landscape of contemporary witchcraft would be different if Aleister Crowley wasn't in the picture?
He did contributed to not witchcraft per se, but I would
Mhm.
say more to the occult sciences,
Right.
and the Golden Dawn, and reinventing himself and his philosophy of thelema. That is something that not a lot of people do, and how important it was that he was so influential to pop culture throughout the 20th century. David Bowie, the Beatles. He was such a forthright in that generation. And even today, people still talk about him, within controversy.
Is Telema and the OTO one of the same or different orders?
It's the same thing. It's the order, the OTO, and Thelema being his own philosophy that he created. It's something that uh God, God and Goddess. That's he knew about female divinity,
Mhm.
and that's one of the reasons why I always understood he was one of that building blocks of my own existence.
Mhm. Definitely feel like there's duality in divinity, and the goddess has been unrepresentative for several centuries, and that earth-based feminine spirituality, the explosion that happened in the past 30 years, kind of been paving the way.
Even longer than that.
Right.
Even longer than that. You're talking about 60 years with Gerald Gardner.
Mhm.
You're talking about, Alexander Sanders. You're talking about such great movement. You have people that are not even brought to minds, but they're part of the movement in history, like Yvonne and Gavin Frost.
Mhm.
So you have people that are part of that movement. The Church of Wicca, actually 1964 was Gavin Yvonne Frost.
Mhm.
They were the first ones. Before even in 85 or 86 when it was federally recognized as a religion, Wicca.
Mhm.
We never thought that it would actually take its name as Wicca.
Mhm.
But it did. And now we have it as an earth-based religion, and whatever, uh, you know, we have to hold it as part of history, and it's the necessary evolution to go forward.
What do you feel like contemporary scholars and students of the craft, in general, that are learning from some of these pioneers, some of these leaders, some of which aren't around? What do you think academically we should be focusing on to bring forth that same spark that sparked, at the rebirthing of the spirituality itself?
Well, acknowledgement of the past in order to go to the future, to go forward. Obviously, great Gerald Gardner, like I said, Alexander Sanders. There is people that are preserving the tradition, the knowledge. There are people that are taking that stand and preserving all that for the future seekers. And this is something that is internalized. It's part of your spiritual DNA. I believe that being a witch, it's part of that spiritual DNA that you are born with. You have, you know that there is something more out there. But rather than, I try to have a umbrella term of mysticism. So I'm being a mystic. This way you don't have the connotations, the negative connotations of witchcraft or being a witch itself, but being proud of it as well. It's just wonderful to know its history, its evolution, and of course the whole revolution with the 60s and to this modern day of we have TikTok witches.
Yep. So you're saying that we should be academically modern scholars, students, seekers should be
We should know about the past
the
in
history.
order to go to the future. In order for us to go forward, we need to know about our past. I'm one that I preserve that past. I honor my elders. My book is not only leaving my legacy, but also honoring my elders.
What else sticks out with your trek to United Kingdom over there? When you first went to Stonehenge, did you feel any type of like, I mean, energy? Did you feel overwhelmed? Did you feel a presence? Like what pops up in your heart, in your
Well, Stonehenge, it was about over 10 years ago when I first went to Stonehenge, and I was introduced to Arthur Pendragon, not even knowing I never even knew Susan Marie Paramore, but I was able to meet Arthur, and he took a liking to me, and we knew that brotherly bond, and I became an advocate for his um quest of returning the bones back to Stonehenge. Excuse me, where the this museums were trying to conserve or have these relics of bones in their archives, and he wanted to pay homage and honor to those ancestors and put them back where they belonged. So there was a fight going on, and I was part of that advocacy, which I brought to America, and I was able to collect a lot of signatures to bring to actually send him, and he was able to go to the lobbying that he does. He's always active. He's an amazing man. I care about how relentless he is to be part of the paganism, the pagan umbrella, and representing Druidism and also ancestry and be a guardian of Stonehenge.
hmm.
So this is something that I'll always be a part of that advocacy of being part of his Arthurian loyal Arthurian warband, which I got knighted back in, boy, 2019.
And you said like the remains of people that were around Stonehenge. I think I read something at one point that around Stonehenge is an actual like burial site of people that were
Yeah, well,
perishing.
the whole earth is a burial site.
Good point.
The earth in I remember being criticized by someone because I was sitting on a crypt in Salem.
Mhm.
And I was sitting and I said to them, what are you talking about? The whole earth, we're stepping on fossils, we're stepping on the remains of not only humans but animals. The whole earth is a burial site. So, but this particular henge is so special. So whoever enters it, you feel it. You feel like you're transported into another world. Uh, I remember, which I write in my book, the experiences of first entering with the procession of the Druids, and then, of course, being clergy myself. I was with a Cabot sister, and I was able to enter right after the procession into the where the net back then it would be the congregation, and then there would be a gate, and then the English heritage, which governs these Neolithic structures throughout the UK. They opened the gate up for the Druids. And so I remember going into, and then the constellations above me, and you could feel the energy rising, and it was like a magnet, and it was overwhelming to see these stones bigger than life itself. And you knew that there was something special there. And so the congregation of the Druids, and then performing at that time, it was the autumn equinox, equal day, equal night. So I was able to see their ceremony, and then they retreat to the heel stone where my hand fasting was done. And it was very special to have the spring equinox, be together with my Cabot brothers and sisters and friends from abroad, and then head towards the heel stone where the hand fasting was done. And did a little did I know I had Reuters, and I had the Guardian. These are periodicals, and I had the BBC was filming and was taking pictures, and of course Witchcraft TV was among the media outlets. So it was great. It was great to see that happening, um, and to see old friends, to see old acquaintances congregate at the heel stone for our hand fasting.
Yeah, it was a spectacular event. I don't think I've ever seen, well, definitely not in person because I've never been there, but I've never seen like a circle casting happen at Stonehenge. And
It
it's
was no for their circle is more about calling the quarters. It's not
right.
an official circle per se. Like
Okay.
the druids always tell me we don't do that witchy stuff. We're pretty much they're very simple. They're not much of pomp and circumstance. They actually call the quarters, and they gather, they acknowledge, they observe, they praise, and of course their druidic prayer. And so when they took us to the Heelstone, it was more of a gathering, and then of course the hand fasting coordinated by Susan Marie Paramore and the Archdruid, which is Arthur Pendragon.
So is Arthur Pendragon and Susan Paramore, are they the official clergy for Stonehenge?
No, there's other archdruids. There's Rollo Malfing. There's Merlin. There's elders within the Druidic Stonehenge clergy. So you have others. I think Rollo Malfing is the official archdruid. But Arthur is more internationally known because of his years and of advocacy, in the forefront of paganism and Druidry.
Mhm. All very good stuff. So tell me a little bit more about your trek to Scotland. Did you travel by train? Did you drive? Did you fly?
No, we drove. We drove. Thanks to Susan, we drove all the way up. So when we were in Isle of Lewis and Calanesh and the Brock, and we went to the Black House, and so we did all those beautiful, memorable sights to behold in Isle of Lewis. We then took a ferry back into the mainland. So when we actually landed on the mainland, we had to travel all the way east up towards the north of the tip of Scotland. And so we traveled all the way to the tip of Scotland to take another ferry to go to the Orkney Islands. So I told her, I said, yes, we'll do it all. We're gonna travel, we're gonna really do the whole gamut of the Scottish islands. So we went to the Orkney Islands. Unbelievable. The seafood, the beauty of the Orkney Islands, it just amazing. It blew my mind. We were there for about a week and enjoyed going to other Neolithic sites throughout. So we did not only the Brock, which is an old Neolithic city that its ruins are there, called Scarborough, right? Scarborough, I think it's called. Excuse me for not remembering, but we did that sort of visit, and then we ended up going to Steness. Gorgeous. And we filmed at Steness, and we went to the Ring of Brodgar. So the Ring of Brodgar, you can't go into the inner court of the stone circle, but you could actually walk, and it was the sunset. It was romantic. So myself and my husband was able to walk through the whole ring of stone circles at the Ring of Brodgar at the sunset, and it was magical. It was it was romantic. It was memorable, magical. That's something that we know that it's part of that experience.
Well, Reverend Cabot, we're getting to the bottom of the hour, but I do have one more question that I want to ask. And we were talking about how Aleister Crowley has a lot of negative connotations to him, his work, but there's also lots of positive things that he has done as far as
Correct.
shaping the landscape. And we also mentioned some pioneers like Yvonne and Gavin Frost. And I adore Yvonne Frost. When I was a prisoner in the American prison system, she used to write me letters, and I took some of her courses. And people like them, and also names like Isaac Bonowitz, within our history, there was like scandals that happened. There are people that chime in and say, well, they did this and they're not good people. And I know this, Rev, because I work in pagan media, and I talk to many different people around the entire community. And my question to you is, what is to be said about others who are doing that to, like, the pioneers?
It's about knowing what you relate to, what you honor. It's individualized. I would say that it's more individualized, and you know that there is history, like Aleister Crowley. Not a lot of people resonate with him. Not a lot of people care. They know that he pretty much, went to the dark side. But yes, there's some things that are to behold. That's why I honor him in a chapter in my book. And because I didn't want my book to be all of fluff. It's, it's not about that. It's my whole existence of the craft of female divinity, of its movement, of my own revolution, my own generation. I want to share that experience with others. It does have teachings, it has meditations, it has spells, I've expanded. It's an revised copy called Memoirs of a High Priest. So I'm looking forward to Schiffer and its imprint, Red Feather, to come forth with this amazing book that will be a hardcover. They wanted it to be the new aeon of an occult book, obviously. And so Aleister Crowley is featured in that book. And it should be up to the individual to have its own preference and an opinion. That's how the world goes round. Everybody's different. We bring to the table so many differences, variables. And so like my own hand fasting. It's the diversity and integration of being actually same-sex marriage within paganism at Stonehenge. It was epic, and I'm glad that you guys were able to expose it.
Yeah, it was an honor, unprecedented. I believe within our immediate community, it was the first time an online television station has ever streamed live from Stonehenge for any activity. So the first of its kind to do something of that nature, and was very proud to have worked with you and your beloved for that endeavor. Do you have any closing words of wisdom for the first Modern Education with Alexander Cabot show right here on Witchcraft TV?
I don't know about modern educational show, but it is an educational show, just sharing wisdom, sharing experiences. Be a light unto darkness, so you may be the balance of the universe. That's something that I've always said, and I stand to this day. Blessings on this pink lunar day that we're having. I think that we're entering now it's actually still the full moon. Not knowing, right? Or we're going into the waning.
So thank you so much for joining the show and keeping it right here on Witchcraft TV. We are www.witchcrafttv.online. We are a fair representation of all pagan, witch, and magic paths. Keep it tuned in right here for the month of May for that monthly show with Reverend Alexander Cabot. We'll see y'all soon, and merry part for now.